A few days ago, OpenAI released Codex, which is their answer to the Claude Code agentic CLI coding assistant. Because TaskDemon uses Claude Code under the covers to generate detailed plans from your 2 or 3 sentence ticket descriptions, when OpenAI announced Codex, we were excited to add support for that as well as an alternative planning backend. Now, OpenAI Codex has only been out for a couple of days, and so the amount of testing we've been able to do with it has been fairly minimal. But we did put the 2 different approaches through their paces with a standardized set of 5 different planning tasks that we gave to each tool and then compared the outcome of each. And we've shared all of the tasks as well as the generated plans and some auto-generated verdicts as to which plan was better up on this GitHub repository at Code versus Codex under TaskDemon. With TaskDemon, basically what it does is it takes a short description of a ticket. So in this case, I took these 5 different tasks that I have recently worked on TaskDemon itself. In this case, like the thing that I typed into TaskDemon was this. Something about making a suggested messages for commit and PR on the task details page. Whatever. It's something that you could tell to an engineer familiar with the project, and they can go and build something from this. What TaskDemon does fundamentally is it takes something like that and it turns it into a full plan document. And so for these 5 tickets, what I did is I enabled Codex mode on my TaskDemon CLI agent, and I generated a second plan for each one. So these 5 tickets have 2 plans. The first one made by Claude Code, the second one made by Codex. And all of these plans I've saved and I've put online on GitHub up on this same repository. Because I also used Codex and Claude Code to generate some verdicts as to which plans were better, I labeled these Agent 1 and Agent 2. Agent 1 is Claude Code, Agent 2 is Codex. I didn't want to tell them that because I was then going to have them make this verdict on who made the better plans. So, I'm not going to go through the plans in great detail, but let's take a look at one of them, perhaps. If we look at that changelog plan that was generated, Agent 1 is Claude Code. So the single paragraph, 2 or 3 sentence description of the ticket that we entered here into TaskDemon, when it came out of the planning process, it was turned into this, and this is what Claude Code generated for us. We've got a really nice looking graphic, and we've got a bunch of numbered tasks. Great, that's exactly what we ask for when we ask for a plan to be created. If we go take a look at the same thing from Codex now, here I again just gave it the exact same prompt. In this case, Codex did try also to make a nice pretty picture. GitHub is having some difficulty rendering it. I'm not sure if that's a GitHub problem or a Codex problem. It has produced a list of tasks that should be undertaken in order to achieve this particular change to the code base. It hasn't numbered them though, even though I asked it to number them. And only in about half of the instances did Codex actually go ahead and number the things. So it didn't do quite as good a job with that. Now, my anecdotal take on this, when I look at the 4 or 5 different plans I have for each agent, is that in general, I feel like the Claude Code produced plan is a better plan in that it has a better high-level overview of what the ticket is and high-level architectural assessment, pretty pictures and stuff like that. Interestingly, when I ask both Claude Code and Codex to give me their opinion on which one made the better plans, they give me some different answers. And so to finish this experiment, I passed the same question into both of these agentic agents. Given these 5 different tasks and the 5 different plans that were made for this Agent 1 and Agent 2, right, it doesn't know which one's which, look at them and compare them on these various different aspects and tell me what you think about who made the better plan. What Claude said to this is that it felt that Agent 2, which is Codex, consistently provided the better and more focused solutions. And if you read the verdict here, it's basically saying that it thinks that Codex gives a more focused set of tasks and background without overwhelming in the way that it felt that the Claude plan did. So it's seeing that as a bug, whereas I see that as a human, as a feature. And Codex, it split the whole thing down the middle. It says that sometimes the Agent 1 was better, sometimes Agent 2 was better. So from this, I think we can conclude that we don't have enough data to make any conclusions. We have the human vibe thinking that Claude made slightly better plans, We have Codex thinking they're about the same, and we have Claude thinking that Codex made slightly better plans. So finally, let's take a look at how these two different tools do an actual implementation of one of these plans. Now again, with Codex being so young, I haven't done lots and lots of exhaustive experiments with this, so I'm just giving one example of how it looked when I ran the same planning prompt with both Claude Code and with OpenAI Codex. What I found was that when I passed the plan into Claude Code, it took about 7 minutes or so. In that I pressed enter on my long, detailed, planned prompt, and about 7 minutes later, Claude Code had finished. And when I ran PNPM test, all of the tests passed, and when I did a basic validation of the functionality, I found that it was working. With the Codex approach, I reset the git state and pasted the exact same planning prompt into Codex. In this case, it took more like 13 minutes, and I did have to intervene once in order to tell it that the tests were not passing and please go ahead and fix them. And it did get there in the end. It took about 5 more minutes after I told it that, but the test did pass in the end and the code worked. So it took a bit longer to get there, and perhaps the experience wasn't quite so smooth as with Claude Code, but in the end, both Claude Code and Codex were able to produce highly detailed plans that were pretty much as good as each other, and both of them were able to implement the actual plan to produce a working implementation.